Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Manchester United 4, Chelsea 1. It's become a drain this season to do 6 things we learn. It's my post-match review series. And a lot of people said to me like, George, why are you still doing 6 things we learn? We didn't learn 6 things. We learned the one thing that has become just the overarching feeling this season, which is that we've given up. As fans, we've given up expecting Chelsea to be competitive, results-wise. We have given up, at this point of this season, expecting the decisions that the club make to benefit us this season. And the players, the majority of them, and that is absolutely going to be clarified, who I think is still really giving everything based off of that performance last night. I watched the game live. I was thinking of doing 6 things we learnt, but just like I've said many times this season, and just like you guys have said to me in the comments, we've learnt the same thing. We have learned and seen the same monotonous Chelsea display on too many of an occasion. The way that Manchester United won that game last night is great counter-attacking football with players who are direct and run with confidence against a Chelsea team who get into good positions, but cannot score. We cannot even hit the target at this point in the season. There's been games where we forced goalkeepers to make big saves. We've missed one-on-ones. We've blazed shots wide and over the crossbar. We are a team so void of confidence, so void of any tactical nous, that the season, I've just wanted it to end now. For weeks and weeks and weeks, I have been begging the gods of time to speed things up a little bit to get this show done. Normally, I'm like, let's get the show on the road. I want to watch Chelsea every single week. I watched every game we've played, and I think once the season is done, then we can realistically have no choice but to be optimistic. Mauricio Pochettino is coming in. Clear improvement on Frank Lampard as a manager. We have got Malo Gusto coming through the door. Brilliant footballer. Reece James injured again. We've got Christopher Nkunku, a player who has had a wonderful season despite it being flooded with injuries with Leipzig. A goal scorer. A player who can get us off our seats again. He's coming through the door. We will sign players this summer. Chelsea are in a bit of a dire financial situation right now. We have got Mason Mount looking as though he's on the way to Manchester United, a team that dismantled us last night and controlled the midfield. Mount is going to join Manchester United immediately, make Manchester United a better team and weaken Chelsea Football Club. I'm concerned. I'm worried. And I took one of my little 2-week sabbaticals in the last 10 days because, well, I'm just seeing negativity everywhere I look. When I watch Chelsea on the pitch, it's negative. When I see the manager, it's negative. When I see the fans, it's toxic. It's horrible to be a Chelsea fan right now, especially a Chelsea fan where, you know, I always say, let's open up the discussion. Let's talk about things in the comments. We've got nothing positive to bounce back off of one another with. When we look at the individual performances last night, you've got Lewis Hall, who I arguably think was our best player, and I think he was probably the best player against City as well. Lewis Hall is not even a left back. And we can talk about the statistic that Lewis Hall has created more chances in 1,000 less minutes this season than a £60 million signing, Marc Cucurella. We can use that to just dig a grave for Cucurella at Chelsea, or we can look at this for what it really is, which is that Chelsea Football Club do have talented players here at this club. We do have talented youngsters coming through, and we've spent money incredibly poorly. Cucurella, I know there's been things going on off the field that probably don't necessarily benefit his ability to be able to be at his best on the field, but at the same time, 60 million quid, we expect more. Conor Gallagher yesterday, such a great opportunity but can't hit the target. Kai Havertz playing through the middle. Not a single one of you can tell me that you were surprised that when the ball is fed to him on a silver platter with a silver, gold encrusted, diamond encrusted spoon, don't tell me you're surprised that he didn't hit the target. Kai Havertz isn't a striker, and I hope that Chelsea will sign one of those this summer so that we can stop relying on him as a striker because he's not one. He's not a finisher either. So yesterday, the positives, Lewis Hall, Enzo Fernandez. How is it at Chelsea Football Club, the player who has been at Chelsea Football Club the shortest amount of time than anybody else, how can this player be the one who puts in the most effort, the most heart, the most determination, the best quality? Yeah, but we spent 100 million on him. It's been scrutinised. It's been criticised. I don't think there's any reason to criticise Enzo Fernandez. Enzo has been a bright light in a season that has just got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, darker and darker and darker. Yeah, Enzo yesterday creating chances, breaking up the play, turning that midfield for Chelsea. He's absolutely brilliant. He really is brilliant. And I feel sorry for him because what has happened around him has been a capitulation where my mind is blown that the player that has been at this club the shortest amount of time, when we talk about the intangibles, statistically, yeah, long passes have been good. Pass accuracy is good. But no one's going to remember those statistics for Enzo in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whether he's at Chelsea or he's moved on because the club continued to go downhill, which wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think it will. I genuinely think there is only one way from here for Chelsea, and that is upwards. Enzo yesterday, probably joint best player with Lewis Hall. Mykhailo Mudryk is, I've got to just put it down to confidence, or I will sit here and say to you, I think he's an awful footballer, which I don't actually believe. But what you see is just awful. His movement on the ball isn't good enough. His movement off the ball is dreadful. His finishing is shambolic. But I do think it's because everything that has capitulated around him, he's been bought in for massive money. Big story in January where he was going to go to Arsenal. And then everyone else around him just seems to have given up on the season. So what to expect from a raw talent? Noni Madueke, I think, is actually more progressive in terms of what he's delivering than Mudryk. Cost half the amount of money, but who are we going to argue anymore about what Chelsea have spent on players? Kane Chukwuemeka comes in, doesn't get a sniff, gets blocked from going to the Under-20 World Cup with England, who have won 2 out of 2 so far without Carnes. Puts in another good performance again from the start. To expect Chelsea to have won last night at Man United is foolish. We lose every game. Almost. That is what we have become accustomed to. But also, Man United needed a result to secure Champions League football, something that Chelsea can only dream about. And I think when you look across that team, Wesley Fofana is a brilliant defender, but the last 2 games, he's been atrocious. Azpilicueta was done at the top level 2 years ago. Trevor Chalobah, thought he was pretty decent defensively last night. Kepa good, couldn't really do anything about the goals. And other than that, it's when you look at that Chelsea lineup compared to Manchester United, there is a golfing class all over the field. And this has been a misfiring Manchester United team too. For Chelsea to lose 4-1 is borderline expected, but when you look at results this season, even City didn't beat us by more than a goal. This was the epitome of Chelsea's season. Create chances, don't score. Joao Felix, by the way, brilliant goal. Fantastic. I thought before the game he might have scored, but then he doesn't get that many minutes, and yet he still scores a brilliant individual goal. A moment of individual brilliance. There was nothing that was going right for Chelsea based on cohesive team play. And the final person I need to talk about is Lampard. If Frank Lampard ever gets a Premier League job again, I would be mind blown. His Premier League record, when he was at Everton, since he's come into Chelsea, is one of the worst managers I've ever seen in the Premier League. And we have seen some awful football teams. Chelsea are up there. This Chelsea team in the second half of this season are up there as one of the worst football teams I've ever seen in the Prem. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it. I genuinely think what I've witnessed since January from this Chelsea, in the end of Potter and in the Lampard reign, is atrocious. To keep bringing up the fact that we've spent all this money, at this point in the season, let's get the Newcastle game over and done with, and let's announce Pochettino, can we? as soon as possible. Why on earth is Pochettino not announced? Why on earth is Pochettino, who supposedly wants Mason Mount to stay at Chelsea, why isn't he the manager and coming in and making sure that he locks Mason Mount down? Of course Mount wants to go to Man United. The club reportedly haven't communicated with him since February. Of course he's going to go. All the clubs want him because they see how good he is. He's injured at the minute, so he can't play. Chelsea are a mess. We've been a mess for absolutely weeks. I cannot wait for this game against Newcastle to be over. I'm absolutely buzzing for the season to be done. And it's because we are atrocious. We're a shambles. We're humiliated every week, whether it's against bottom of the league relegated clubs or teams that we used to fight with and compete with. United demolish us 4-1. They get Champions League football for next season. I know where we do go from here. Poch takes over and he starts to build something. But we're not going to be back at the top for a while. And I've accepted that now. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments down below. Come on, you Blues.